You know, a few years ago, a friend was using the facilities at a rest stop and got bitten by a brown recluse spider. It got infected and, well, let's just say it was nasty. He almost lost his whole leg. His doctor took pictures of the spread of the infection, which I want to share with you. Not really. I do know a guy that happened to, but I would never gross you out that way. Still, you would be amazed at the things students have shared with me over the years, courtesy of their papers. Such as the woman who wrote in graphic detail about the medical complications from an abortion, or the man who described his cocaine and orgy-filled weekend. In both cases, my reaction was, I don't want to read this. Whether it's a paper you wrote for a teacher, a memo you sent your boss, or an email to your friend, you don't want your reader to react with, I don't want to read this. Of course, you can ensure that this doesn't happen to you by remembering 3 words: audience, order, and imagination. Let's start by considering magazines. Whether it's Good Housekeeping, written for today's domestic engineer, or High Times, written for today's stoner. Each magazine has a designated audience, and so should you. Figure out who your audience is and write for them. While the only people who will read your papers are myself and your peer reviewers, you should imagine a larger audience. What types of people would be interested in your topic, and what type of paper would most appeal to your audience? Take, for instance, a paper on the history of accounting. While you shouldn't include personal stories, you should present the facts in a tone of voice appropriate for business-minded individuals, using more formal language and avoiding opinions. Now that you've identified your audience, it's time to focus on order. Imagine if you read a recipe that went like this. Mix half your ingredients in one bowl and the other half in another. Then pour one bowl in your casserole dish. Oh, you should have turned on the oven already. And hopefully you greased the dish before you poured the ingredients in. With luck, you remembered the first rule of cooking: pre-read the recipe, and then looked for another, better organized one for your dish. Your paper must also follow an organized pattern. As we learned on our road trip to Athens, Texas, outlining helps you organize your paper. Before beginning, you must note the thesis, main points, and structure of your paper. Remember to use your grammar book to select the proper structure. You've identified your audience, organized your paper. Now it's time to use your imagination. I hate to tell you this, but whatever paper you're writing, someone else has already written it. That doesn't mean you can't write it better or take it in a slightly new direction by putting a unique spin on your topic. Think of a creative introduction and fresh ways to state your ideas. Don't be outlandish, but don't be bland either. Readers stick with those things that are interesting, so no matter the topic, make your work something that appeals to your audience. Keep audience, order, and imagination in mind as you write, and your papers will draw in readers and keep them interested. And now, if you'll excuse me, there's a recipe in this magazine I really want to try. Oh, wait, this magazine. Either way, should be an exciting meal.